Tashidilek, Your Holiness. Today truly feels like the most blessed day of our lives. Your
그린
Holiness,
뒤주 다지 미즈날 뒤주 개와 상쇼 뒤주 개와 상쇼라지错고도선 개원지 제바디
Your Holiness, it was by the grace of your blessing and vision that the Gurukul program was started 27 years ago by the Foundation for Universal Responsibility as an offering of the foundation to Indian college and university students. Your Holiness, we are delighted to bring together 24 young fellows from colleges and universities across India in the age group of 18 to 28 years today. Your Holiness, thank you very much. We are extremely grateful for your time and presence with us today.
Thank you very much. Indeed, I am very, very happy meeting you. We Tibetan traditionally, we Tibetan, most of them just nomad. Then, first Tibetan King, Songtse Gampo, although he married with Chinese princess, but he decided, we Tibetan, we should have our own writing. And Tibetan alphabet, one ancient Indian Devanagari sort of letter. So now, in Tibetan language, Buddha's own word, about 100 volumes. Then great Indian masters' commentary about Buddha's word, about 200 volumes. All are in Tibetan. So sometimes I'm just wondering, the Tibetan king, he start creation of Tibetan own
writing
system. Whether the Chinese princess agree or not, I think the Chinese princess may want introduce Tibet Chinese writing, but our own script. So now today, I notice in Buddhist philosophy and Buddhist psychology, in order to explain these things, I feel Tibetan language is the best language. So those ancient Tibetan, kings, I think they really have foresighted.
Farsightedness.
Farsighted. So then Tibetan, I think, because cold climate, our brain is always alert. Place hot land, feel sleep. the Tibetan cold climate. So you see Tibetan mind always very fresh, alert. So now today, since I came India, I have opportunity meeting with many different people, and particularly different part of India. Then I notice Tibetan brain, cold climate. So our brain is always ready to think, to investigate. We Buddhists, or before Buddhism came, our own traditional religion. Then among Tibetan themselves, you see, they investigate what is differences and what is the reason. Then they decide the Buddha Dharma from India is the best. We love thinking, not just accept one teacher say something without investigation, just believe. That's not Tibetan thinking. We always raise question, even Buddha's own word, we raise question, why Buddha say that? Then thinking the reason. So eventually, I think as far as Buddhism is concerned, Tibetan tradition is now I found most,
Sophisticated.
sophisticated. You see, we always investigate. So now today, when we met people from different tradition, I always respect, because one of my commitment is promotion of religious harmony. But we always investigate, reason. So without investigation, just faith, sometimes we call blind faith. So we always use our intelligence, investigate. As I mentioned earlier, even Buddha's own word, we further investigate why Buddha said that. The script there, this is not sufficient, but we must have reason, logical way.
Using our rational mind,
Oh,
rather than just resorting to scriptural citations.
so Tibetan, the Buddhism which we accepted, say, not based on blind faith, but always investigate. And we found the Nalanda tradition among Buddhism. Nalanda tradition, those top master scholar of Nalanda, they always use reason. I a little bit surprised when I met Buddhist brothers, sisters from Vietnam, from Sri Lanka, and so on, other Buddhist countries. They not much thinking. They simply say, Buddha said that, Buddha said that. Tibetan, investigate. Even Buddha said that. Why? That's, I think, one advantage. Tibetan come from cold climate. So you see their brain quite fresh. We Tibetan, what is Buddha? What is Dharma? What is Sangha? Investigate. So now today, when we have more contact with people who believe, who follow Buddha Dharma, is quite useful. They are thinking, not much reasoning. We Tibetan, Buddhist faith, and Parmana Vadika Karika, Parmana, Sama.
Not really. Logic and epistemology.
We combine these two things. So as I already mentioned, even Buddha's own word, we raise question, why Buddha said that? What is the reason? We never accept because the Buddha said, and without any question accept, no, that is not our tradition. We always thinking, investigate. So now, today, I myself study according Tibetan way from logical approach from childhood. So now, these days, some Buddhist brothers, sisters from Buddhist country, when they explain their own tradition, I always, listen their explanation. But some corner of my mind raise why. So now today I noticed really we Tibetan Buddhist thinking combined with reason, logical approach, and that easily go with modern scientists. You see, unless something through investigation, something concrete thing, they not accept. So the scientific sort of finding, the Buddhist, Tibetan Buddhist thinking, very useful. So investigation is very important. That top master of Nalendra, they also use reason. Why? Even as I mentioned earlier, even raise question, why Buddha say that? Why? So that's, I think, very good tradition. Always thinking, what is the reason? So those Tibetan and friends who believe Buddha Dharma, But if you ask some sort of questions, then their answer may say, Buddha said that, that's all. No, that's not sufficient. We must sort of sufficient reason. And finally, relate it based on our common sense. So true Buddhist monk, Buddhist philosopher, I feel very scientific minded. We have the sort of tradition when we carry debate. The other one carry some quotation of Buddha or some other high sort of Buddhist, high Buddhist. So out of showing respect, their head is put here.
Remove.
They listen the quotation. Out of respect of the great teacher, including Buddha, we put out our head. And afterward, any shamudiya kansa shoko kyaba majung sa tati.
So during debate, His Holiness is relating, in monastic setup where the debate's happening. So there would be a challenger and a defender. So the challengers sometimes quotes lines from other masters like Buddha and other, great masters of the Buddhist tradition. And then during that time, while the challenger is quoting these lines, the defender would take off his hat out of respect to the great masters. And then after the quotation is finished, if the quotation is not able to help the challenger's own point, then the defender would put the hat back on his head and said, what you are trying to prove, doesn't really stand to the test of reasoning. Yes. So that shows how much emphasis there is in the Tibetan tradition on reason and logic.
I think basically Nalanda tradition.
No, Nalanda.
Then we Tibetan, Shanda Rakshita, visit Tibet, he introduced the way we study about Buddha Dharma, mainly through reason, not just faith. So then one day, Tibetan King, that I think 8th century, right?
Oh, right.
8th century, Tibetan King, Chizon Dezen, and they from, those people headed by Kamalashila.
Yes.
So Indian tradition, including logic. And then other side, a Chinese Buddhist, mainly meditator. And Tibetan king sit in center and let them discuss. And then those Tibetan who follow Kamalashila, reasoning. The other side, the Chinese who mainly meditate, not as a debate or reasoning. They simply meditate. Then Tibetan king, Chizon Dezen, difficult to satisfy. So then he expressed, we Tibetan should follow the Nalanda tradition, Kamalashila, or reasoning. And those Chinese meditator, he showed respect. Now, please, it is enough. Now, please go to China. We need more sort of learning, discussion, not just meditate. So he quite frankly to the Chinese monk, thank you very much. Please go to China. So I think since those time, Tibetan pay more attention for study, and debate. And also taksen 조단 디디 패시 벽 차바 최생 기전 제셔지. 디루주 세브가 신미.
Yes. So basically, there's understanding that the tradition of debate that is still prevalent in the Tibetan monastic institutions was initially started by one of the Tibetan masters named Chaba Choje Singye.
I also, you see, study that follow that tradition. And then my final examination, firstly in Trebung, then Sera, then Ganden, then in the Central Cathedral, Lhasa. So, in Lhasa, most top scholars there. That sort of occasion for me, very important, final examination. So, clothes, the subtradasha.
His Holiness was wearing brocades, shirts, in the best attire, in other words.
But in my heart, dick, because too much anxiety. Then final examination, they debate. Quite successful. Then many top scholars, particularly one top scholar, or a truly great scholar. Now he frankly expressed, if Dalai Lama study longer period, like ordinary
monks, students,
monk scholar, then this young Dalai Lama can be the dancer from the picture.
This scholar said that if His Holiness had been able to study, like the ordinary monks, and spend more time in his studies, he would be someone who would be like unmatched. There would be nothing like him amongst the three big monastic learning centers, Trebung, Gaden, and Sera.
So then after final examination, I think very successfully, you say, examine. Then soon after, escape from Tibet. So that is now here, even though all those texts which I sort of the
different texts that His Holiness studied in order to sit for the final exam.
But still, I read these texts. These most important texts always keep with me. and occasionally I read, think. So now, when I give some talk, according to some sort of Buddhist text, number of scholars, they appreciate. And particularly, my brain quite sharp, quite good. So that is about my story. So Dalai Lama, not just sitting on throne, some religious ceremony, not that. I have some 7 scholars from 7 colleges of Devung, Sera, Kanden. So I always say debate with them. Then among them, some top scholar, I have no courage to debate. Among them, although quite top, good scholar, but his mind not that kind of sharp. So I choose him with debate. So I can, his mind not very sharp. So I choose, you see, some subject.
Topics.
You see, I can deceive, because of deceiver.
No. Defeat.
I can sort of cheat him. His mind not that bright. So compare him, my brain is more bright. So sometimes you see, while I carry debate, sometimes I cheating him. But then the final examination, every people consider my knowledge is very good knowledge. Now important, now these days, occasionally I visit, I give some teaching. Then some top scholars also now very much appreciate. You see, my knowledge, those difficult subject. So that is about my story. And then,
Yes. I consider it very important to combine study, reflection, and meditation. These three are going together. Yes.
So, as soon as you wake up, recite some sutras, some text word, and think. My daily life starts that way. Morning, wake up, and then some quotation, and think. And now my daily meditation, mainly altruism, karuna. And when I meditate or analyze about karuna, and quite often tears come. So now, meditate or thinking more seriously karuna, and tears come, and in the mind, complete rest. No fear, no jealousy, complete peaceful. So according to my own experience, when I give some teaching, I always just mention that. So altruism is really ultimate source of inner peace, inner strength. Now some questions.
Your Holiness, I am Akshaya from Nalanda, Bihar. As a student of the new Nalanda University, we are inspired by the rich legacy of the ancient Nalanda University, which was a center of learning and intellectual exchange. Your Holiness, what would be your advice to the students and fellows like us to uphold and carry forward the spirit of the Nalanda tradition in the modern era?
I think those bigger Tibetan monasteries now re-established in South India. Now they are carry the Nalanda tradition at least 20, 30 years. So occasionally some group people, scholar, come here and you can participate. Now language problem, one problem. Those Tibetan scholars speak only Tibetan. I really proud. We Tibetan, the previous several generations, they really kept Nalanda tradition, not just based on Buddha's word, but reasoning, thinking. So, if you have some occasion, then visit South India, Mysore marbe.
Karnataka state.
Karnataka
Yeah,
state.
the major monasteries in Karnataka.
You see, watch how they study. They from early morning, they learned by heart and recite. Then whole day through debate, the things they already learned now through investigation. Really wonderful. Our tradition is really wonderful. We kept quite intact in this country, in India.
My name is Yogeshwar, and I am a PhD researcher at IIT Jodhpur. I work at the intersection of Buddhist philosophy and cognitive science. Your Holiness, my question is, do you ever feel that your compassion and kindness is sometimes taken advantage of by the people? And I ask this because when we start practicing compassion and kindness, how do we practice it without being taken lightly or taken as something which is weakness?
I think in my case, I think because of name of Dalai Lama, people always respect, not take advantage. But when, as I mentioned earlier, senship kranzo the doing yorba
No.
or the thing also shit is done in advanced language.
Yes. So as His Holiness already related about the seven, existence in philosophical debate for him back in Tibet, and when His Holiness debated with them, some of them would take advantage.
One occasion when we carried debate with those seven sensual,
No.
and then you see the reason. My point, there is a certain reason, but in spite that, some of them adopt a different view, then lost my temper. Because sensual, because sometimes again, have said any carrying tower season, any long launch, any car day.
So during that debate, some of them were holding their positions very tightly, like stubbornly, like devil's advocate. So His Holiness got lost his temper, and he stopped talking to them also. His Holiness is very grateful to those assistants in debate. Amongst them, there was a Mongolian. He was from Seraj Monastic College.
Very, very kind. Unfortunately, the night when I left from Lhasa, I sent a message to that top scholar. Now I am leaving from my place. Now you should go to Sara Monastery, his own original monastery. I thought if he went to Sara, then after I leave from Nobulinga, then number of monks from Sara and Drebung can leave their own place and for time being safer place. But then, unfortunately, that top scholar, monk scholar, he, I think due to his own karma, he simply remained in Nobulinga, my summer palace. Then Chinese soldier come. When Chinese soldier come and he shout, "Where Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama, Dalai Lama?" And people who killed with monk's robe, a Chinese soldier examined whether Dalai Lama or not. And he remained Nobulinga and arrested. I really feel great loss. As I send a message, should go to Sara Monastery. If he went to Sara, then he can easily come to India. But unfortunately, he remained Nobulinga and then arrested by Chinese soldier. So these are a sad story. But okay, my this good brain, wherever I go, this brain with me. So now as a refugee here, still I can use my brain. And a new subject, science, and many things. I also, sometimes I expressed, I'm Buddhist monk, and meantime, my mind also, you see, much sort of knowledge about science. So now nearly 80.
Nearly 88.
88, right? I really feel I use my life meaningful way. So still next few years, according to some prediction in some, I think, previous generation, or 14 Dalai Lama come, he may live around 113. So I totally dedicated for preservation of Indian tradition. Those texts, the Buddhist text, a lot of sort of explanation about Sangha philosophy and Kare.
No.
Changshabada.
Sankhya, Vaisheshikas, Mimamsakas. No.
So these texts, although Buddhist text, but content there are a lot of ancient Indian thought like that.
Your Holiness, I am Akashlina from Kolkata. My question is, in today's world, how do we practice compassion and equanimity with adversaries of people with whom our differences cannot be reconciled?
Now India, although I think world democracy really getting a good image, and including India, democratic country, through election, leader choose, no military forces, or according democratic principle, we all equal. Then equally discuss without fear. That we can do here. Very good. In China, difficult. When Chairman Mao Zedong, I met several times, and then last meeting, Chairman Mao Zedong praised me. Your mind is very scientific minded. And then he mentioned religion is poison. I just sit quiet. You see, all our explanation, all our sort of tradition, entirely based on reason. And now a lot of scientific sort of finding also, you see, very, very close. So now in China, number of Chinese follow Buddhism. And also they follow my teaching. Okay.
Yeah, next.
Tashidele, Your Holiness.
Tashidele.
Your Holiness, you're always doing so much for other people, taking care of them. So today I just want to ask you, how are you doing and how are you feeling? Tushiche, Your Holiness, and please live a long and healthy life for the benefit of sentient beings.
I always see take a Tibetan doctor and also allopathic also the doctor. They say my physical very good. So another 15, 20 years, no question, I live. And my physical condition quite strong. So if necessary, boxing. No, because 88
Not in.
88 old, I can. So I really, my body, speech, mind, totally offer to serve sentient being in general, particularly 7 to 8 billion human beings on this planet. I totally sort of, what say, dedicated.
Chidele, Your Holiness, my name is Aprajita and I'm a social and cultural anthropologist. And my question to you today is that at this age when we have so many distractions, both within ourselves and in our environment, how can we focus on our purposes in life?
Now, there are two types.
We're talking about two types of meditation. One is called analytical meditation, and the other is the resting or focusing meditation. In order to do the focusing meditation, which we usually call meditation, you need to be clear about what you are going to meditate on. So for that, you need to learn the different topics and then do a lot of analysis into what you are going to find. So because of that, it is very important to combine study and then critical analysis and meditation. Yes. And so through your study, what you can do is learn the different topics, and then you do critical analysis into these different subjects. And once you are able to decide what the point is that you want, and through your critical analysis using reason, then you should focus your mind in meditation. Yes. So regarding myself, I reflect on and I cultivate bodhicitta, this altruistic spirit of enlightenment, bodhicitta. And so because of thinking so much about it, I can see perhaps that I have the experience of bodhicitta. And regarding the other side of the practice, which is emptiness, meditation on emptiness, I've taken interest in it since I was young. And so even today, every day, I do meditation on emptiness. So these two principles, on the one hand, you have the altruism, and on the other hand, the philosophical understanding of emptiness. These two are my main daily practices.
가서 그래. 지금 나와 만들어 충분히는 그 된딩이 여버지 삼다 연두 아니 텔라 아텍 즈버슈슈슈리기도 와. any te changni shidang kiamri yungduwa. Da che tamjalo mingzam dasami sabaji samlo ko yunduzane kora tending nebe lingi yedebajik mebajik samlo ko yundu chadang keya yuru kora shukchungul ma chinche yu kora ma shikdwa sor chayungi.
So, with regard to bodhicitta, what it includes is the meditation on karuna, compassion. So, when you have compassion, genuine compassion, which is like thinking of, thinking of liberating others from suffering, this experience of compassion gives you peace of mind. And then, on the other hand, with meditation on emptiness, what happens is usually when we see something or when we come across something that we dislike, what happens is we actually try to project something that is not actually there in the person or the thing. There is a misconceived projection onto the person or things, and because of that, and holding on to some kind of a solidity and independent existence in the person and things, we become angry at the person or the things. And so when you understand that that's not the way things are or the people are, they are merely designated. We use labels, we use language and our ideas to project some things onto others. And so because things are merely designated, merely in name, that helps to reduce your anger. Yeah. And so you begin to also realize that things do not have any independent existence as such.
지 개미 공정의 간소야 지 도르당 지 시우치디 디 학벌도의 인지계에서마도 공로사에 켜는면도.
For example, the Chinese soldiers, for example, or the authorities have used atrocious measures against Tibetans. So though they have been so atrocious to us, what I feel is compassion towards them rather than becoming angry.
When I heard more atrocity carried by some Chinese communist officials, I feel great sort of
compassion.
Compassion. Never feel anger.